You want to know why most people never live their dreams? It's not because they can't. It's because somebody sold them comfort instead. They traded their voice for a paycheck, traded their truth for approval, traded their purpose for security, and here's the thing that'll wake you up. The system doesn't fear your anger. The system fears you uncomfortable. Because when you get uncomfortable enough, that's when you start asking questions. That's when you start speaking up. That's when you become dangerous to the lies they built everything on. Listen, I'm not here to give you another motivational speech. I'm not here to pump you up so you crash by tomorrow morning. I'm here to tell you the truth that took me everything to learn. The truth that cost me my title, my prime years, millions of dollars, but gave me my soul back. You're exhausted, aren't you? Tired of trying to please everybody. Tired of biting your tongue. Tired of living smaller than you know you're supposed to live. You got a good job, maybe a nice car, a comfortable place to stay, but something's eating at you. Something inside keeps asking, is this it? Is this all I was born for? And here's what's really got you twisted. You can't even complain about it, because on paper, your life looks good. So you feel guilty for feeling empty. You feel selfish for wanting more meaning. You feel crazy for hearing this voice inside that keeps saying you're meant for something bigger. But you're not crazy. That voice is your spirit refusing to die. Now, I ain't no scholar. I barely graduated high school. But I stood in front of the United States government and said no. I stood in front of millions of people calling me a traitor and said no. I stood in front of my own bank account going to zero and said no. Not because I'm special, because I learned something that changed everything. When God and truth is on your side, you got power they can't buy, can't steal, and can't break. Most people think freedom is about having choices. But real freedom is about having the courage to make the right choice even when it costs you everything. Most people think success is about what you gain. But real success is about what you refuse to give up. Your truth, your dignity, your soul. They sell you comfort because comfortable people are predictable. Comfortable people are manageable. Comfortable people don't shake nothing up. But look at history. Every person who ever changed anything, every person who ever freed anybody, every person who ever stood for something real, they all had to get uncomfortable first. Let me tell you what this teaching is not about. This ain't about being reckless. This ain't about throwing away your responsibilities or abandoning your family. This ain't about becoming some rebel without a cause. This is about something deeper. Understanding the difference between protection and prison, between security and surrender, between having something to lose and losing yourself. People think I gave up boxing for 3.5 years because I was political. I wasn't political. I was spiritual. People think I sacrificed my career for the movement. I didn't sacrifice my career for the movement. I sacrificed comfort for my soul. What I'm going to share with you comes from lived truth, not theory. It comes from the nights I couldn't sleep, wondering if I made the right choice. From the mornings I woke up with nothing but faith and bills, from the years of exile when everybody counted me out, and from the day I got my license back and realized I won something bigger than any title. I won myself. This teaching is built on one principle. The only thing worth having is the thing you refuse to compromise to keep. I see you. I see you trying to do right while the world rewards wrong. I see you biting your tongue while lies get applause. I see you making yourself smaller to make others comfortable. I see you trading your truth for approval, your voice for acceptance, your fire for peace. And I want you to know something. That exhaustion you feel, that heaviness, that ain't life. That's slow death. But it doesn't have to be this way. You can have peace without compromise. You can have provision without selling out. You can have comfort that comes from living right instead of living quiet. And that's what the next 40 minutes is about, showing you how. Let me take you back to when I first learned this truth. After I won that gold medal in Rome in 1960, I came home to Louisville a hero, world champion, Olympic gold around my neck. They threw a parade. White folks who never spoke to me were shaking my hand. I felt like I finally made it. finally earned my place. Then I walked into a restaurant downtown with that medal shining on my chest. The white waitress looked at me like I just crawled out the sewer. "We don't serve niggers." That gold medal might as well have been plastic. That's when I first learned. They'll celebrate you as long as you stay in your lane. They'll praise you as long as you make them comfortable. But the moment you want to sit at the table as an equal human being, that gold don't mean nothing. I went to that bridge over the Ohio River, looked at that medal, and I realized something that changed my whole life. This medal was supposed to make me comfortable, supposed to make me grateful, supposed to make me quiet. But all it did was show me how they use our accomplishments to keep us in line. Some people say I threw that medal in the river. Maybe I did, maybe I didn't. But what I know for sure is this. That night I learned that any prize they give you that comes with conditions ain't really yours. They give you the award so you'll behave. They give you the recognition so you'll be grateful. They give you the platform so you'll say what they want to hear. But the moment you step off script, the moment you use that platform for your truth instead of their comfort, watch how fast they try to take it all back. I was 22 years old standing on that bridge. Still had my whole career ahead of me. And I had to make a choice right there. Am I going to spend my life chasing their approval, or am I going to be free? That medal represented everything I thought I wanted: respect, recognition, acceptance. But standing there in the rain, I realized it wasn't worth nothing if I had to betray myself to keep it. That was lesson number 1. Anything you have to compromise yourself to keep, you don't really have. It has you. Now, let me tell you about when that draft notice came. People don't understand the pressure I was under. The government didn't just threaten me. They seduced me. They came with deals so sweet you'd have to be crazy to turn them down. "Muhammad, you won't fight, you won't touch a gun, we'll just have you box exhibitions for the troops. Keep your title, keep your income, keep your career." Every version of the same message. Stay comfortable, stay quiet, stay in line. My lawyers were begging me, "Take the deal, champ, it's the best you're gonna get." My own manager was saying, "Don't throw it all away." Even people in the nation were questioning if this was the right move. And I sat there thinking about my family, about my future, about everything I built. But then I thought about those boys in Vietnam. Poor boys, black and white, dying for a war they didn't understand. And the government wanted to use my face to make that war look good. Wanted to use my popularity to lead more young men to their death. They were offering me comfort in exchange for my complicity. I remember the night before I had to report to the induction center. I didn't sleep. I paced around my hotel room asking God for guidance, asking Him to show me the right path. And I kept hearing the same answer. If I follow my true beliefs, I'll never be free again if I compromise now. See, they wanted to make it easy. Wanted to give me a way out that looked honorable. But there was no honorable way to do the wrong thing. There was no comfortable way to betray my conscience. So I had to choose. Keep my comfort or keep my soul. That's when I understood. Comfort is just a prettier word for chains. They give you just enough to keep you quiet, just enough to make you grateful, just enough to make you forget you're still not free. And the scariest part? Most people take the deal, most people compromise. Not because they're weak, because the system is designed to make compromise look like wisdom. Stay quiet, and they call you mature. Sell out, and they call you realistic. Give in, and they call you smart. But I couldn't live with that. I couldn't look at myself in the mirror if I took that deal. So I refused to step forward. And everything they threatened came true. Now, let me tell you about those exile years. Those 3.5 years, they took my license. People think I was just angry or defiant. Truth is, I was scared. I had no income. I opened a restaurant called Champ Burgers. It failed. I tried business ventures that went nowhere. I was doing college lectures for a few $100s, while other fighters were making millions. There were nights Lonnie and I would sit up trying to figure out how to pay bills, nights I wondered if I made the right choice. The phone would ring with another promoter, another offer, another chance to get back in the ring if I just apologized, just said I was wrong, just bent the knee a little bit, and I'd be lying if I said I wasn't tempted. Comfort was calling my name every day. Security was right there. All I had to do was compromise just a little bit. Tell one small lie, take back a few words, make them comfortable again. I remember one night sitting in the dark, holding my baby daughter, watching her sleep, and thinking, what kind of father am I? Can't provide like I used to, can't give her everything she deserves. Maybe I should just take the deal. Maybe I should just give them what they want so I can take care of my family. But then I thought, what am I really teaching her if I do that? I'm teaching her that you compromise your truth when it gets hard. I'm teaching her that principles are negotiable. I'm teaching her that comfort is more important than character. And I couldn't do it. I couldn't teach my children to sell their souls for security. So I stayed in exile. I stayed broke. I stayed banned. And you know what I learned in those dark years? When you choose truth over comfort, you lose things. You lose money. You lose opportunities. You lose people who you thought would ride with you. But you know what you gain? You gain yourself. You gain your dignity. You gain the one thing nobody can ever take from you. The knowledge that you didn't break. Every day during those years was a test. Every day I had to wake up and choose again. Choose truth over comfort. Choose integrity over income. Choose soul over security. And some days were harder than others. Some days I wanted to give up. Some days I thought I made the biggest mistake of my life. But I kept going. Not because I was strong, because I had faith. Faith that God would see me through. Faith that truth would eventually prevail. Faith that I was doing what I was put on this earth to do, even if nobody understood it. And when that Supreme Court decision came down 8-0 in my favor, when I got my license back, when I stepped back in that ring, I wasn't the same fighter. I was a free man. And that made me dangerous. Because you can't hurt a man who already lost everything and found out he's still got everything that matters. You can't threaten a man who chose his soul over comfort. You can't control a man who proved to himself he can stand alone. That exile didn't break me, it freed me. And that's what I want you to understand. The thing you think will destroy you might be the thing that finally sets you free. Years later, after I retired, after the fame settled, after Parkinson's started slowing my body down, I was at an event, and this young man came up to me. Couldn't have been more than 25. He was dressed nice, working a good job. Everything looked right on the outside. He shook my hand and said, "Champ, I wish I had your courage." And I asked him, "What do you mean?" He said, "I'm living my father's dream. Got the degree he wanted, got the job he wanted, got the life he wanted, but it ain't mine. Every day I go to work, I'm dying a little inside. But I can't walk away. Can't disappoint him. Can't lose what I got." I looked at this young man and saw myself at 25. Standing at a crossroads between comfort and truth. And I told him something I want you to hear right now. Son, disappointment is temporary. Regret is forever. If you spend your whole life making other people comfortable, you'll die having never lived at all. Your father's dreams are his dreams. Your comfort zone is your prison. And every day you choose his life over yours, you're betraying the person God made you to be. That young man started crying right there. Because he knew I was speaking his truth. He knew he was trading his life for approval. He knew comfort was his prison. And that's the story I want to end this part with. Because this ain't just about me. This ain't just about boxing or war or politics. This is about every human being who ever had to choose between living right and living easy, between truth and tolerance, between freedom and comfort. And what I learned from all these stories, what I'm about to teach you, applies whether you're 25 or 65, whether you're famous or unknown, whether you're rich or poor, because the choice is always the same. Are you going to live free or are you going to live comfortable? Let me show you what these stories taught me. Here's the first truth you need to understand. Comfort is control. The system doesn't control you with chains anymore, they control you with comfort. Give you a job good enough that you don't rebel, but not good enough that you're free. Give you just enough money to keep you quiet, but not enough to gain real power. Give you just enough freedom to feel like you're choosing, but not enough to actually choose differently. This is how it works. They create a life where you got something to lose. Then they make sure you're always aware you could lose it. Your job, your reputation, your position, your comfort. And once you got something to lose, they got you. Because now you're not making decisions based on what's right, you're making decisions based on what's safe. Look at most people. They know their job is wrong, but they stay because they need the money. They know they should speak up, but they stay quiet because they don't want problems. They know they're meant for more, but they settle because at least they got security. That ain't living. That's surviving with better furniture. And here's what makes it so effective. The people enforcing this aren't evil masterminds. It's your parents who just want you safe. Your friends who just want you to fit in. Your spouse who just wants stability. Good people selling you comfort because they're scared of your freedom. Because if you break free, they have to question why they're still in chains. Think about it. When's the last time somebody encouraged you to take a risk? When's the last time somebody said, "Go ahead, quit that job that's killing you"? When's the last time somebody supported you doing something uncomfortable? Most people won't, because your freedom reminds them of their prison. Your courage exposes their fear. Your truth challenges their compromise. So they dress up their fear like concern. They dress up their comfort like wisdom. They tell you, be realistic. Think about your future. Don't be stupid. And all they're really saying is, stay comfortable like me because your discomfort makes me uncomfortable. The truth is this: comfortable people don't make history. Comfortable people don't change systems. Comfortable people don't free anybody, including themselves. The moment you get too comfortable is the moment you stop growing, stop fighting, stop living. Every great thing that ever happened in this world happened because somebody got uncomfortable. Every freedom that ever got won, somebody had to risk their comfort to win it. Every truth that ever got spoken, somebody had to risk their security to speak it. You think Martin Luther King was comfortable marching in those streets? You think Rosa Parks was comfortable refusing to move? You think anybody who ever changed anything was comfortable while they were doing it? No. They were scared. They were uncertain. They were uncomfortable as hell. But they did it anyway. Because they knew something you need to know. The discomfort of fighting for what's right is temporary, but the regret of staying comfortable when you should have stood up, that lasts forever. So when you feel that pull toward comfort, when you feel that voice telling you to just stay quiet, just play it safe, just keep your head down, recognize it for what it is, that's not wisdom. That's control. That's the system trying to keep you in your place. And your place is wherever you have the courage to stand. Now, let me tell you about the second truth. The real fight is for your soul. When I was in the ring, people thought boxing was my fight. It wasn't. Boxing was my platform. My real fight was for something they couldn't referee. My soul, my dignity, my truth. And your real fight ain't for the promotion, or the raise, or the recognition. Your real fight is for the right to live as your authentic self without apology. See, the system needs you to believe the fight is out there. Fight for the job. Fight for the house. Fight for the status. Keep you so busy fighting for things that you never fight for yourself. But here's what I learned. Every external fight is really an internal fight in disguise. The fight to keep your job is really a fight about your worth. The fight to keep people's approval is really a fight about your identity. The fight to maintain comfort is really a fight about whether you believe you deserve better. And the moment you realize this, everything changes. Because you stop asking, how do I keep what I got? And start asking, who do I need to become? You stop defending your position and start defining your purpose. You stop fighting to hold on and start fighting to break free. This is what they don't want you to know. You are more powerful than you think. Your voice matters more than they told you. Your truth is more dangerous than they want you to believe. Because one person living in their authentic power can inspire thousands to question their chains. One person refusing to be comfortable can make comfortable people uncomfortable. One person standing on truth can expose a whole system built on lies. That's why they work so hard to keep you small. That's why they sell you comfort. Because comfortable people don't inspire nobody. Comfortable people don't challenge nothing. Comfortable people maintain the status quo. But you gotta understand, this fight never ends. You don't win it once and rest. Every day you wake up, you gotta choose. Am I gonna live on my terms or theirs? Am I gonna speak my truth or their comfort? Am I gonna be free or safe? And some days you're gonna choose wrong. Some days you're gonna compromise. Some days you're gonna stay quiet when you should speak up. That's part of being human. But the difference between people who stay trapped and people who get free is this. Free people recognize when they compromise and correct it. Trapped people justify their compromise and repeat it. So when you catch yourself trading your truth for comfort, don't beat yourself up. Just recognize it, name it, and choose different next time. Because every choice is building either your freedom or your prison. Every word you speak is either your truth or their script. Every action you take is either moving you toward who you really are or away from it. And over time, those choices add up. They add up to a life of meaning or a life of regret. They add up to freedom or captivity. They add up to you becoming yourself or you becoming who they wanted you to be. Now let me tell you about the third truth, and this is the one that kept me standing when everything else was trying to knock me down. Faith is your foundation when everything else shakes. Not religion, faith. Not rules, relationship with God. Not ceremony, certainty that I'm doing what's right even when it looks wrong to everybody else. When they stripped my title, I had faith. When they took my income, I had faith. When they tried to put me in prison, I had faith. Not faith that everything would work out how I wanted. Faith that if I stood on truth, I could handle whatever came. And there's a difference. Most people want faith to be insurance. Believe in God and nothing bad happens. But that ain't faith. That's a transaction. Real faith is knowing that even when you lose everything, you still got everything that matters. Real faith is understanding that your value don't come from what you own, it comes from whose you are. Real faith is standing on principle when standing on principle costs you everything else. And here's what faith does. It gives you power they can't buy and can't break. Because when you know that God is with you, when you know your cause is just, when you know you're standing on truth, you become unmovable. They can take your money, can't take your faith. They can take your position, can't take your purpose. They can take your comfort, but they can't take your conviction. This is why the system hates people of real faith, not people who use religion to justify their comfort, but people who use faith to fuel their courage. Because faithful people can't be bought, they can't be threatened, they can't be controlled, they'll lose it all before they lose themselves, and that's dangerous to any system that runs on fear. I remember during my exile years, there were times I'd wake up in the middle of the night in a cold sweat, wondering if I heard God wrong, wondering if I misunderstood what He was asking me to do, wondering if I threw my whole life away for nothing. And in those moments, I'd get on my knees and pray. Not praying for the trial to end, praying for the strength to endure it. Not praying for comfort, praying for courage. Not praying for an easy path, praying for a faithful heart. And God never failed me. He didn't give me what I wanted, He gave me what I needed. He didn't make it easy, He made me strong. You want to know why I could say no when everybody else was saying yes? It wasn't courage, it was faith. Faith that God made me for more than comfort. Faith that my life had purpose beyond what people could see. Faith that even if I lost, I won, because I kept my soul. And that's the faith I want you to develop. Not faith that following God means everything works out perfect, but faith that following God means you become who you were meant to be, no matter what it costs. That kind of faith changes everything. Because when you got that, you can lose your job and know you ain't lost your calling. You can lose your position and know you ain't lost your purpose. You can lose everything the world values and know you still got everything that matters. Now here's the fourth truth, and this one's going to sting a little. Your purpose is bigger than your comfort. Let me tell you something real. You were not put on this earth to be comfortable. You were put here to fulfill a purpose. And most of the time, purpose and comfort are enemies. Because purpose requires sacrifice, purpose requires risk, purpose requires you to care about something more than your own safety. I wasn't put here just to box. Boxing was the vehicle, not the destination. I was put here to speak for people who couldn't speak for themselves, to stand when standing cost everything, to show people that you can be Black, Muslim, outspoken, and still be a man of dignity and power. That was my purpose. And it was bigger than my comfort, bigger than my title, bigger than my bank account. Now, I'm not saying everybody's purpose is to fight the government or change the world, but I am saying everybody got a purpose that's bigger than their comfort zone. Maybe your purpose is raising your kids with truth instead of convenience. Maybe it's speaking up in meetings when everybody else stays quiet. Maybe it's leaving that job that's killing your spirit even though you don't know what comes next. Maybe it's telling your truth even though your truth makes people uncomfortable. Whatever your purpose is, it's going to cost you something. It's going to require you to get uncomfortable. It's going to make people question you. And when that happens, you got to ask yourself, am I here to be comfortable or am I here to be purposeful? Because you can't be both. You can't fulfill your calling and keep everybody calm. You can't change anything while staying safe. You can't live your purpose while maintaining their comfort. And here's the beautiful part. The moment you start living for purpose instead of comfort, you find a different kind of peace. Not the peace of nothing happening, the peace of knowing you're doing what you were born to do. Not the peace of approval, the peace of integrity. Not the peace of safety, the peace of truth. They'll call you crazy. They'll call you reckless. They'll say you're throwing your life away. My own family thought I lost my mind when I refused to go to Vietnam. My friends thought I was ruining my career. The media called me every name you can imagine. But you know what? I slept better during those exile years than I ever did when I was fighting and compromising. Because I was living my purpose. I was standing on my truth. I was being who God made me to be. And that peace, that inner peace, that knowing you're aligned with your purpose, that's worth more than all the comfort in the world. So when people question you, when they try to talk you out of your purpose, when they make you feel crazy for wanting to live authentically, remember this, they're not really questioning you, they're questioning themselves. They're not really trying to protect you, they're trying to protect their comfort. Because your purposeful living challenges their comfortable dying, and they can't handle it. But that ain't your problem. Your problem is making sure you don't die with your purpose still inside you. Making sure you don't get to the end and realize you spent your whole life living somebody else's dream while your own dream died of neglect. Now, here's the last truth, and this is the one that ties it all together. True freedom costs everything and gives you everything. When I refused to step forward at that induction center, I knew what I was giving up. Title, money, career, prime years, freedom itself. They tried to put me in prison. I knew all that, but what I didn't know was what I was gaining. I was gaining something they couldn't put a price on. Self-respect, dignity, the ability to look myself in the mirror and know I didn't break. Years later, after I won the title back, after the Supreme Court ruled in my favor, after everything came full circle, people would ask me if it was worth it. And I'd tell them, those years of exile were the best thing that ever happened to me, not because I enjoyed struggle, because struggle showed me who I really was. It showed me I wasn't just a boxer, I was a man of principle. It showed me I wasn't just famous, I was free. See, here's what most people don't understand about freedom. You can have all the money in the world and still be a slave. You can have all the success in the world and still be trapped. You can have everything except yourself, and you got nothing. Real freedom is internal. It's knowing you can lose everything and still be you. It's knowing you don't need their approval to have your own. It's knowing you can stand alone if you have to because you're standing on truth. But getting that freedom costs something. It costs the comfort of fitting in. It costs the security of playing it safe. It costs the approval of people who want you small. It costs you everything you thought you needed so you can discover what you actually need. And what do you actually need? Truth, purpose, faith, dignity, self-respect. Those are the things they can't take from you unless you give them away for comfort. And once you understand that, once you really get it deep in your bones, you become dangerous. Not dangerous to people, dangerous to the systems that depend on your compliance. This is what I want you to take from these lessons. You are one decision away from changing your entire life. One decision to stop trading your truth for their comfort. One decision to stop making yourself small so others feel big. One decision to say, I'd rather lose everything than lose myself. Make that decision and watch how everything shifts. Now you might be thinking, this sounds good, Ali, but how do I actually do this? Let me show you. Truth is beautiful, but truth without action is just philosophy. So let me give you practical steps you can take starting today. First practice, the mirror test. Every morning, before you do anything else, I want you to look at yourself in the mirror and ask 3 questions. Don't rush. Don't skip this. Stand there and ask. First question, am I living my truth today or somebody else's truth? Listen to the answer. Don't judge it. Just listen. If you're living somebody else's truth, acknowledge it. If you're living yours, acknowledge that too. Second question, what am I afraid to say or do today because I'm comfortable? This is where it gets real. Maybe you're afraid to have that conversation with your boss. Maybe you're afraid to set that boundary with your family. Maybe you're afraid to admit to yourself what you really want. Write it down if you need to. Third question, if I die today, will I be proud of how I lived today? Let that question sit in your chest. Because every day, you're writing your obituary with your choices. Every day, you're either building a life of meaning or a life of comfort, and you can't take the comfort with you, but you can leave meaning behind. Do this every morning. Make it non-negotiable. This practice will show you where you're compromising before you even realize you're compromising. It'll wake you up to the little ways you betray yourself, the small moments where you choose safety over truth, and once you see it, you can change it. Second practice, the weekly audit. Once a week, sit down with a journal and ask yourself these questions. What did I compromise this week that I shouldn't have? Maybe you stayed quiet when you should have spoken. Maybe you agreed to something you didn't believe in. Maybe you avoided conflict at the cost of integrity. Write it down. Don't beat yourself up. Just acknowledge it. Where did I choose comfort over courage? This one's harder because comfort feels good in the moment. But where did you play it safe when you knew you should step up? Where did you maintain peace when you should have made waves? What is one area where I need to get uncomfortable this week? Name it specifically. Not I need to be more authentic, but I need to tell my partner I'm not happy with how we handle money. Not I need to take risks, but I need to apply for that position even though I feel unqualified. Be specific. This weekly audit keeps you honest because it's easy to drift into comfort without noticing. It's easy to wake up 5 years later and wonder how you got so far from who you meant to be. But this practice, this weekly check-in, it keeps you aware, it keeps you accountable, it keeps you moving toward freedom instead of drifting toward comfort. Third practice, the truth conversation. At least once a month, have a conversation you've been avoiding because it might make somebody uncomfortable. This is how you build your courage muscle. This is how you practice choosing truth over comfort. Start small if you need to. Maybe it's telling your friend you don't like how they talk to you. Maybe it's telling your family member you're not coming to that event. Maybe it's telling your coworker you're not going to cover for them anymore. Whatever it is, have the conversation. Before you have it, prepare yourself. Know your truth, know your why, know what you're willing to stand on, even if they don't like it. Then speak it with respect, but without apology. Here's the key. You're not trying to convince them. You're not trying to make them comfortable with your truth. You're simply stating what's true for you and letting them have their reaction. That's it. Their reaction is their business. Your truth is yours. This practice will change your life because you'll realize that most of the time, the fear of the conversation is worse than the conversation itself. And even when it's hard, even when people get upset, you'll feel more free after than you did before. Fourth practice, the purpose reminder. Every night before you go to bed, I want you to write down one way you lived your purpose today. Not your job, not your role, your purpose. Maybe you showed your kid how to stand up for themselves. Maybe you encouraged someone who was struggling. Maybe you spoke truth to power in a small way. Maybe you just lived with integrity when it would have been easier to cut corners. Write it down. This practice does two things. First, it makes you conscious of your purpose daily. Second, it shows you that living purposefully doesn't always look heroic. Sometimes it's small acts of courage, small moments of truth, small choices to be uncomfortable for the right reason. And on the days you can't write nothing down, on the days you realize you just coasted in comfort, don't judge yourself. Just use it as information. Use it to wake up tomorrow more intentional. Use it to recognize that comfort is always pulling you, and you gotta actively pull back toward purpose. Over time, these small daily acts of purpose add up to a life of meaning. These small daily choices to be uncomfortable add up to freedom. These practices aren't complicated, but they're powerful if you do them consistently. They'll keep you honest. They'll keep you free. They'll keep you living your truth instead of their comfort. So we covered a lot in this time together. We talked about how comfort is control, how they use security to keep you small, how faith is your foundation when everything shakes, how purpose is bigger than comfort, how freedom costs everything and gives you everything. But if you take nothing else from this, take this. You were not born to be comfortable, you were born to be free. And freedom means living your truth, even when your truth costs you. It means standing on principle even when standing alone. It means choosing integrity over approval, purpose over security, soul over comfort. I'm not saying it's easy. It wasn't easy for me. There were nights I questioned everything. Mornings I woke up scared. Days I wondered if I made the right choice. But you know what? I never once regretted choosing freedom over comfort. Never once regretted keeping my soul. Never once regretted standing on truth. And years from now, when you look back on your life, you won't regret the times you were uncomfortable for the right reasons. You'll only regret the times you stayed comfortable when you should have stood up. So let me leave you with this. I'd rather live one day as a free man than a lifetime as a comfortable slave. I'd rather lose everything standing on truth than gain everything selling my soul. I'd rather be uncomfortable with integrity than comfortable with compromise. I'd rather die on my feet than live on my knees. That's not just words. That's how I lived. And that's the invitation I'm extending to you right now. Live free, live true, live purposefully. Don't let them sell you comfort in exchange for control. The world needs you uncomfortable. The world needs you speaking truth. The world needs you free. Not someday. Today. Right now. In this moment. You got one life. Don't waste it being comfortable. Use it becoming free. If this resonated with you, if something I said woke something up inside you, do me a favor. Subscribe to this channel so you don't miss the next message. These truths need to keep spreading. Hit that like button if you needed to hear this today. Let me know you're out there choosing freedom over comfort. And most important, leave a comment below telling me What's one area where you know you need to get uncomfortable? What's one truth you need to speak? What's one stand you need to take? Write it down. Put it in the universe. Make it real. Because the moment you name it, you give yourself permission to do it. And maybe your comment will inspire somebody else to find their courage too. Remember, they sell you comfort to control you. But you're too powerful to be controlled. You're too valuable to be bought. You're too important to stay quiet. Now go be free. Be uncomfortable, be you, and I'll see you in the next one.